Space Commander.
All force, Space Commander. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Yeah, just hoping to get the technology up and running this time.
So your camera quality and sound quality is probably the best it's ever looked. Well, I don't know why you were so paranoid, but I think it looks great.
Well, the new setup was supposed to be, the the mutts nuts, as we say.
Yeah.
But, it was weird when we went live the other last weekend.
Yeah.
It looked fine on my end. Then when I watched the replay, I could see what everyone was talking about. And the funny thing is, straight after the show ended, all the internet all over the space station conked out. Nothing worked. No phones, no tablet, nothing. So I think the problem was the internet was going down in our particular sector of space. Touch wood. Now everything's back up and running again. Hopefully things are back to normal. But this is the real test. I was trying to show you guys my Cobra Clutch coin. And it just came up with a pixelated mess before, but can you see that now? It's got a bit
Absolutely, yes.
Clear
as day.
Okay, so that's the real test. If you can see that, then we are up and running.
Gaz is here, Crash is here, TJC is here. So if you lads can let us know how it's looking on your end, that'll be super handy as well.
Sound good?
Well, you sound great. I think I mentioned that you have a request, an order in mind for our special cadet, who she's looking for one of these. If you could, whatever you need me to do to get that happen. Cindy has sent me the details. I'll send to you so that she can get a Space Cadet hat.
Cool. We've got the hats. It's just the patches we need. That's proving a little problematic, but we'll get it sorted. Don't worry.
Oh, cheers, Crash. Couple of goofy goobers. Goofy goobers. So the usual program. Thanks, Tej. Looking awesome this end. Double thumbs up. So my usual scheduled programming is on halt this week. I'm going on a secret mission, but we do have yourself, Tej, and we also have Mark Potter joining us this time tomorrow. Actually, it'll be a little bit earlier than this time tomorrow, but an hour, in fact, I think is the difference, right?
Yeah, about an hour and a half, hour, something like that.
Right, so a little earlier than this tomorrow. Depending on your time zone, it'll be today for me because now it's after midnight here. Whatever, doesn't matter. It's happening. So right now it is just after midnight, and for me, I think we're going live at 11 or 11:30. So it's still technically going to be today for me because we've now crossed over. Crash can order patches.
Ah, nice one. That might be the way we go. In fact, Crash helped me last time with the patches.
These ones.
Yeah. So back in the old days of bloodforthebaron.com, when it was because nowadays it's a great website, it really is, but it's more like a resource site now. Back in the old days, it was active with a forum and everything, and I managed to get. Yeah, Kaz is right. The C64 is I managed to score an interview with one of the costumiers. Am I saying that right? Who had worked on the first G.I. Joe live action film, Rise of Cobra. So bless her heart, she wasn't like in head of wardrobe or anything, but she was one of the seamstresses, and that was pretty cool.
That was cool.
Her, and I managed to get. I sent her like all the different Force logos that Action Force had, including Space Force, of course. And she made a bunch of patches for us, and she sells them on eBay. And I kind of thought, this good relationship, maybe she would send us some free samples. No, I had to pay for them. They were quite expensive, but got them sent over. And at the time, the shipping didn't hurt because back in those days, I was ordering stuff from the States all the time, all the kind of all the black and white sci-fi films that Gaz and I like to watch. You couldn't get them in the UK. So I was ordering stuff from the States all the time, and the shipping was really cheap. And then all of a sudden, a few years ago, it's just gone through the roof. It's really, it makes it completely unviable to order something as cheap and cheerful as a patch. Maybe let's say $20 maximum for a patch, right? And you're spending like $30 or $40 on the post. That's ridiculous. Just
it is.
Put it in an envelope and send it as though it's
I've had some GI Joes, pretty rare ones, in fact, sent to me in a paper envelope, which I thought was pretty rubbish.
Yeah, something like that. You need packaging. But Crash, bless his heart, he and I swapped over some Action Force parts. I had a few bits he needed. He had a few bits I needed. And I messaged him and I said, this is the lady who does our patches. If I PayPal you the money, can you buy the patches for us and just stick them in the parcel with the other stuff you're sending over? And bless his heart, he did. And that's how you ended up with that one.
Yeah.
One or two other people have got them as well. But yeah, the postage is crazy now, and I have had it recently where, because you know me, I always try and if I'm interested in a particular figure, it's more like interested in the character really. I know some folks want to buy an entire range of action figures that comes out. I've never, even when I was a kid, I was never really into that. I only picked these characters that I really liked or felt some connection with. So recently I bought I knew I was getting a particular Transformer for Christmas, and I sneakily bought myself another one so I could have one in pack and have one to open.
Yeah.
Well, you always got to decide which one are you going to keep in the pack. Well, that decision was made easy for me because the one I bought off eBay for myself, you got the box with the character in, and then you got the card back at the back. They had folded that over, squished the corners of the box, and slid it into a jiffy bag. And
You're kidding me.
Yeah. So when it arrived, I made my decision real quick. I thought this is the one I'm going to open. But now when I if I'm buying stuff off eBay, I look at the price that they're charging for shipping, and if it seems quite low, and you think, wow, that's a bargain, now I'm inclined to message them and say, look, if I pay you some more, will you put it in a proper package, please?
Yeah. There's a real gamble. It used to be okay, but somewhere along the line, it started to get dodgy. But this, I got from technically they are a friend, right? A friend, an acquaintance. You know how you make friends on the internet.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes they're friends. Right, and sometimes they're acquaintances, but you sort of like you still have a pretty good relationship with them, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't hang out with them like we do with the guys in the chat now and yourself, but they're ones that you have good rapport with, right? So you don't question if they say, "Hey, I've got something for sale." You're into it. I'll be like, "Yeah, okay, I'll check that out. That's cool. Let's do it." There's a certain trust that goes with that, right? Where you're like, I don't have to reinforce to you, say, hey, this is a pretty expensive figure. I got a pretty good deal on it, but a pretty expensive figure. Maybe package it properly.
Yeah.
So I was dumbfounded, in fact, and this is going back. So it was actually during the COVID times. So already the postal service was a nightmare. So I got what was the Mortal Kombat figure, Goro, the forearms and all the stuff, and some other G.I. Joe figures, and it was put literally in a normal paper envelope, just stuck in there. Just all of it was like thump, licked, slapped, and off it went. I couldn't believe it.
Did it survive?
And in fact, I couldn't believe it so much that when I picked it up from the mailbox and looked at it, I was like, I don't remember ordering any extra figures, because I knew, in my mind, I was like, this is not the ones I paid for. But yeah, thankfully they were all okay. But that's not the point, I don't think. Little extra effort. Have you got a Spaceman from Crash?
Yeah. He sent me a lot of good stuff a little while ago. In fact, Crash, me and Mrs. Space Commander have just booked a hotel for the upcoming toy fair they're having at the Birmingham NEC. A whole bunch of people are going to be. TJC is going to be there, and I think Scuba Pete's coming over. Bless him.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I won't be able to. I'll only be there I'll be there the Saturday night before at the hotel, and then I'll be there on the Sunday. I can't stay for the Monday, unfortunately. Stupid day job. But,
hate it.
But
Unbelievable.
Sunday, and if I see any cool little Action Force bits and bobs that I don't need, but Crash might, I'll try and pick some up for you, buddy.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was going to be. I want to talk about two things today. We're only going to have a short stream. This was just to test our transmission, but I did want to talk about two things. One of them was that upcoming thing and what you're looking to hopefully pick up at this toy fair. The second one I wanted to talk about was the original Thing movie, from Another World, or whatever it's called. The Thing from Another World.
Thing from Another World.
All right, we'll finish.
The logo at the start of the film, where they used wax, they melted through wax to make that logo appear. The Thing from Another World. And John Carpenter liked that so much that he took that image of the Thing, those words, the Thing, and he used the exact same image for his film.
I did notice that. I was actually very surprised by that, because I knew that they were both based on the source material. I've never read the book or story or short story or wherever it appeared in print. I've never read it. I wouldn't mind checking it out. Have you read it?
I've not read it. I have bought it, but I gave it to, because Mrs. Space Commander is in all kinds of gross films. Right. Yeah. And I bought it for her, and I said, "This is the story. This is the original film. This is the story it was originally based on." Mm-hmm. But that was right when we were moving, so I think it probably got put in a box. I was lying in my space bunk last night, and it just suddenly occurred to me that I've got we have a shed kind of capsule floating out the back of the space station. You can get into it by an umbilical. And I just realized it's full of crates of books. I've got hundreds of books. They've been in there for years. I don't know when the heck I'm going to get around to unpacking them. And if I do bring them into the main space station, where are they going to go? On the cargo deck? In the mess hall? What the hell am I going to do with those books? Should I just sell them? I don't know. But anyway,
I was going to say that's first world problems, but it's out of this world problems if you're in space, right?
Out of this first world problems, yeah.
Gaz, he's got a request for you. He needs a left arm for Quarrel. No quarrels about it.
Certainly, we'll keep an eye out. So sometimes it's cool because I think I mentioned this before. My first ever Transformer. Well, I had two at the same time, but the first one I unwrapped was Huffer.
Yeah,
and it was my childhood Transformer, my favorite one. I played with it all the time. And you don't realize it until years later, and you find, you talk to people on the internet, that they all had a common fault, that one of the arms would work itself loose and come off. And that's exactly what happened to my one. But the cool thing now is you can go on eBay or someplace like that. Watch out for those hidden fees, lads. But you can go on eBay and you can buy spare parts. And so somebody had a broken Huffer, and I messaged him, and I bought it from him. And I kind of the old romantic in me, I told this guy, your Huffer now gets to live on in my Huffer. That part of your Huffer is being used to restore my Huffer. So we between us,
it's a beautiful sentiment. Yeah. It's a beautiful moment that I won't ruin with a bad joke. That's great. I love that.
When I say within him, I don't mean physically within him.
I mean attached.
Yeah. But,
so the original Thing from Another Planet is a minty gem of a film. So I think now I recall watching this movie as a child. Mum was super into the old black and white movies, and on a late night they would show these movies, right? But I had forgotten everything about this movie except for that image where they're about to use the thermite. Was it thermite that they were using to melt the ice?
Yeah.
I remembered that only that. Nothing else I could recall from it. I like how everyone in the movie. It's hard to explain, but the dialogue that they use, it's super fast, it's super to the point. Everyone's talking really, really fast with each other. If they make a joke, the only time you can tell that they're telling a joke is if they smile at the end of what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's all the one tone all throughout. They all talk super fast and they all mean what they're saying until they smile. Then it was a joke. One of my favorite jokes was he keeps going in. I think it must be a general or something. Anyway, he keeps walking in and he keeps getting told. Every time someone walks in, they keep getting told to close the door.
Yeah.
Right, and that was a running gag. And then at the end, as he's excusing himself, he's like, "Dory, close the door." So I thought it was a little bit of good humor. However, what I didn't know, and I'll close the door. Exactly, that's it. And I'll close the door. Loved it. That's the line. Thanks, guys. We should do a huge talk on the thing on Shoot the Shit. That'd be a really fun one to do, Gaz. In fact, because I do like the John Carpenter thing. I like the idea of the most recent one that they did, where it was sort of a prequel to what happened in The Thing. I don't think it necessarily works. Have you seen it, Space Command? Have you seen the other thing with?
I saw part of it. You see, the thing is, the classic ones, they're so sort of dear to my heart, and I'm kind of burned by the amount of horrible prequels and sequels, spin-offs we've been getting in the past few years. Now, this film may have hit before that trend happened, maybe, but I
think it's probably the beginning of the trend. But right. It's not a bad movie, right? But I think that it's not a bad movie in the parts where it ties directly to the previous one.
Yeah,
because they do, and we would call that these days. I guess we would call that catering to the audience or fan service, right? So there's a lot of fan service there. So if you see like certain parts of how did these two people get melded together like Megatron and Ratchet? How did this axe get into a wall? If anyone wanted to know. And so the thing is, though, when I originally saw that, I thought, oh, that's really interesting. Then after watching Solo, a Star Wars story, it's like, do we really need to know where he got his jacket or his blaster or his name from? And so do we really need to know these things, or is it scarier without it? I think the special effects are still pretty good. I think it holds up. And there are actually some pretty good actors in it. But there's only parts of it. I don't like the whole thing. I like parts of it. The John Carpenter thing, I love all of it. And that's the kind of movie where if I'm flipping channels, which you don't do so much anymore, right? But if I'm flipping channels, and I've done this since I've first seen the movie, no matter where it is in that movie, when I've to it, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to stop and watch it. Yeah. It could be the beginning, it could be the last 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. I love it.
Yeah.
Here we are. Gaz is saying, I love the bit when they talk about the regulations for reporting a UFO. And one of them read it out, and the co-pilot was like, which one was that? Right, that one. Yeah, oh, yeah, he's reading it out of a magazine. Which one was that? Oh, yeah, right, that one. Yeah. It is. So we'll get back to the original thing because that's the thing from another world. That's really what I wanted to talk about. And I think the thing that surprised me the most was that it was a plant-based organism.
Yeah, it was like a carrot.
They described him as a carrot, yeah. and the one botanist guy is like just creating more. He's got a farm of them. He's got a farm of them.
Yeah, it's funny. I've seen I think it was Steven Spielberg and one or two other of the big directors talking about the film, and they kind of said, you can tell it's made in the 50s because of sort of like the American military in the film are portrayed as being, we know what's right, we know what's what, we'll take care of it. The scientists are all portrayed as being a bit childish and B, very dangerous. Instead of thinking, should we do this? They're thinking, can we do this? And if we can, let's do it. Well, you don't stop and think, should they do it? And apparently there was a lot of bias in films at the time that scientists were kind of portrayed as being the bad guys. And it took the States, I suppose it's to do with the post-war period, it took the States quite a while to get over that and to realize that sometimes the military gets it wrong and sometimes the scientists get it right. But back in the 50s, it was very much thought of the other way. So yeah, there's some crazy decisions being made by those scientists. But I think the film still stands up because of the incredible imagery when they're standing in the ice or in the snow and they're trying to pick out the outline of the crash.
Yeah,
they don't know necessarily that it's a UFO or a flying saucer yet. So they're all well, stand around the edges of what we can see of it, and gradually they form this giant saucer shape. Oh,
love it!
Brilliant!
It's so good.
Yeah,
I didn't think I knew I was going to like it. I didn't know I was going to love it quite as much as I did. I particularly liked the reporter that was there.
Yeah, watch the sky.
He really wanted to get his scoop. He was like, I want to get my readers. I want to get my publisher. He's trying to get he's trying to get word that he can publish this, right, and be the first person to do it. Where on the flip side of that, the scientist is like, make sure you get a communication out so that I can start to really get into the nitty gritty of it, start dissecting it. I thought it was interesting that it was an electric blanket that kind of did them in, right? They throw an electric blanket over it, but there wasn't even that many deaths in this movie either. Like, what is it? Maybe
a lot of the deaths are off screen. I was just thinking about what I was saying about the imagery of the film. Some of the imagery is in your mind. You don't actually see it because there was still a lot of stuff that you couldn't portray in film at this time.
Right.
There's a bit where one of the characters is explaining how in the lab where they were, experimenting with the like you say, trying to farm the creature. Someone had gone in there and found a bunch of the scientists. They'd all been slaughtered. They were hanging like Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan. They'd been slung up and hung from the rafters, and they would been bled out into the trays to feed the carrot creatures. Yeah. And although you don't see that, you get the vision of it in your mind, and it's quite horrific.
I think it plays a lot like a radio serial as well.
Yeah,
because when the creature first comes alive, you see the guy fire at it, right? But you don't see the creature necessarily, right? Yeah. And you don't see you see the gun firing, but you don't see what it's done to the creature, if anything. But then later on, he explains it. It's like I fired at this thing and it did nothing. Yeah, I thought that was really the way that they probably would have done it if it were a radio serial. But another scene which I thought was really well done was when they set it ablaze, and then it took off through the window. Yeah, I think it was through the window. It was through the window, right? Yeah. Yeah. Those guys had it way better than the guys in the John Carpenter thing. You look at the living arrangements; it's like a holiday resort that they're staying at.
Nice and comfortable.
And they really MacGyver some stuff in order to get it at the end as well.
Yeah.
And that is not where I thought it was going to go. It was like, wow, okay, all right, this is interesting. And of course, the scientist tries to make friends with it. Because, you always got to have that moment where it's like, see, we told you we were killing it for the right reasons. Blowing up the ship, I also do. I remembered the scene where they were using the explosions. I didn't remember that they actually blew up the ship. I just thought that they blew up the ice. And then watching it again, since watching it as a kid, I was like, they blew it up?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they figured the humanity isn't developed enough yet to have this kind of arcane knowledge from beyond,
Yeah. It's just like, well, we can't really show a flying saucer either now that we don't have the budget for it. Yeah. We can get people to stand in a circle, but we can't really show it, so let's just blow it up.
of course, they didn't actually go to the Arctic to shoot it. I think they shot it somewhere like Southern California or someplace like that. So when they blew up the flying saucer, what you actually see as the Arctic is a backdrop. And when the explosion goes up, that they knew it was going to be like a big sort of mushroom cloud and very dramatic, and they wanted to capture that, in camera. So they had the cameraman tilt up and follow the mushroom cloud as it rose. But in doing so, if you look carefully, you can see he actually pans up above the backdrop.
Oh, I didn't notice. Okay.
Oh, I shouldn't have said anything, because once I've said it, once you see it, you can't unsee it. But
no, I love that stuff. I love that stuff.
You'll see the Arctic sky suddenly stop, and you see like the American sky above it, the real American, actual American sky above it. But it's a great film for images. The bit where they're casually, I mean, they know the creature is somewhere in the base.
Yeah,
they've had a couple of run-ins with him, and now they're sort of getting calm, and they're going to work on a plan, and they're going to figure this out. And as they're talking and walking, they walk up to a door and open the door, and he's right there in the door.
Right there.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hell out of you.
Oh. Again, and the creature itself, I think, is actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
I thought it was good for its time. And I love the old-fashioned, inject the love story into it. But I think they got pretty good chemistry, so it was all right. Like, you can see that there's like a bit of history there.
Yeah.
The ship's fuel source was exposed, and when they used the thermite to melt the ice, caused it to explode. Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm sure that in the reality of it was we can't show a flying saucer. We don't have the budget for it. We can make an explosion.
That's kind of why they went with the idea of it being like a monstrous carrot creature. They simply didn't have the technology at the time to make the creature as it appears in the book. And that's another thing with the modern version they did a few years ago. Like I say, Mrs. Space Commander, she'll watch any gross out film. Yeah. So I have seen part of it. I have seen some of it, and one day I will watch the whole thing. I will, because I love the earlier films so much. I will watch it. But even now, with the amount of CGI they used in that film, I would still rather take practical effects any day. That to me,
absolutely.
The stuff they did in the John Carpenter film, so disgustingly gross.
Yeah, I'll say this. There was one scene actually that I think they showed it a couple of times where they're taking off into the air, right? And it got me thinking, because it looked so good, the aerial shots, like of the plane, and I was thinking they must have had a second plane just for filming the aerial shots of the plane flying, right? And it's not something you often think about while watching a movie, like how they did it. Now it would probably be, obviously another plane or a drone or whatever, like super easy to do. But I was thinking for its time, that's actually a really, really smooth and clean aerial shot.
Yeah, I think it must have been either, like you say, either they filmed it specifically, or maybe it was like some library footage they got from the military. Because at the time, the military was recording everything. So any test flights or anything, or even, the companies building the aircraft, they would make these like promotional films. So it might be that they just bought those flying scenes and sort of edited them into the film. Like when they're flying over the base, like I said, they didn't really film it in the Arctic. But someone at some point filmed some kind of base in the Arctic, and they took that snippet of footage and put it in the film.
Brilliant.
Brilliant
the way they do that with the stock footage. Brilliant that way that they are able to repurpose that though in order to make a cohesive movie. Stock footage, if used, in an interesting way, doesn't distract from the movie. In fact, this one, movie magic prevails. But I wonder then if they go, this is the stock footage of the aircraft we have to find an aircraft that matches this.
Right. Sometimes they don't. When I was a kid growing up down on planet Earth, I was right next to an air base, and so I didn't wake up one morning and think, oh, I'm going to become a plane spotter. Just from living
Right.
there, recognizing the planes coming and going and the helicopters and such, I got a pretty good recognition, at least of, a certain quadrant of aircraft, military types between this decade and that decade.
Yeah.
But because of that, that's kind of, in a way, it's kind of spoiled my my experience as a viewer sometimes, because I'm watching like Columbo or Airwolf or Knight Rider or something like that, and I'm thinking, that's the Hughes 500. A minute ago, that was a Bell UH-1. What's going on? It's like, oh, here comes a Bell 222. Now it's a 226. What's going on? They've used whatever footage they happen to have at the time and edited it together to make it fit. But that means they don't always have, if they need a shot of the helicopter flying this way, but they don't have a matching shot of that helicopter going the other way. So they'll just use whatever they've got to edit it together, and it doesn't always match up. But
I think I've seen that a couple of times in comedies where it's supposed to be blatantly, not the right footage.
Yeah,
I love it when they do that as comedy. Interesting when they do it unintentionally. Reminds me of not filming something because you don't have the skill to do it or the budget to do it. Reminds me of comedically. That reminds me of the Three Amigos. Have you seen that movie?
I have, a long time ago, but I remember seeing it. Yeah, Martin Short and
right. So at the end, they're all on this plane. Some of the guys are on the wings, and Martin Short's piloting it, and then you can hear it coming down to land, but you don't see it land, and then all of a sudden it's just comfortably landed and sort of rolling into town. Just, I don't know. I think they use that I think that was a pretty funny scene. I'm not doing it any justice at After Midnight. Trust me, I tell you, it's very funny. I think it was a mail plane. It's tiny balls. It's like when BA's van turns from a GMC Vendura to a Ford Econoline in midair after it lands. It's back to, okay, that's funny. All right. That's funny. We'll have to check that out. So, toy hunting. What are you going to find?
I don't know. I've never been to this particular toy fair before. I was talking to Private Potter last night, in fact, over the chat, and you see, because the space station's getting pretty full now, so I don't know if I should be looking for anything more. But I'm still partial to Robo Machines, and then I was saying to him, I also like the Demolition Man figures where they used the specific ones where they used He-Man bodies and repurposed them as Demolition Man. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. But I've got some of those. I'm interested in those. Yeah.
Good.
And, you know what else I'd like? I'd really like to get the Palatoy version of the Sky Striker. I said to him, they'll probably bankrupt me trying to get one of those, but yeah, that'd be nice to get that. And then I'd like some of those 1978 Battlestar Galactica ships. You know what else I'd like? A few years ago, Mattel was doing this particular range of Batman figures. I've got some of those. Do you know what else I'd like? And then I thought, whoa. You're going to be broke and you're going to have nowhere to live because the space station is going to be full of toys. And I think Mrs. Space Commander will start tearing her hair out at that point. So,
is Mrs. Space Commander going to be on this voyage?
She is, yeah. Because at first,
poor girl. I feel bad for her hanging out with you nerds, picking up toys.
It's only a few hours. Because originally I thought it was the industry toy fair, because a lot of the industry fairs they have are at the Birmingham NEC. So at first I thought it was like the industry one, which runs for days. And I mentioned it to her, and I could see this look of slightly dying inside in her eyes as I talked to her about it. Then when I realized, no, wait a minute, this is a different toy fair. This is one where people can go and buy and sell and swap and stuff. And it's like, it's only for a few hours on a particular day. And I mentioned that to her, and she was like, oh, yeah, I'll come along.
Good.
She's getting pretty good at navigating as well. So, that always helps. Gaz
was really good at finding bargains at Joe Fest. what surprised me about Joe Fest is that I did not walk away with a lot of G.I. Joe stuff.
Yeah.
I think most of my spending money went on getting Cobra clutches, but I thought I was going to pick up a lot of action figures. Right? They had tubs upon tubs of figures that were like a couple of bucks each. And at that point in Australia, you couldn't get a G.I. Joe figure for under $30, even without its accessories. It's bonkers, right? And I'm looking at these figures going, man, I could grab so many right now for the same price. But I'm holding them and I'm going, but I don't need them. Like, I don't need these ones. In the end, the only G.I. Joe that I ended up picking up from a G.I. Joe show was the version 2 of Law. And I only picked up Law because I thought he'd be good to go with the SWC, which is pretty much the only reason why I've been picking up any sort of Joe, just to sort of customize for my own sort of benefit, which really opens up a whole different way of collecting. Like, instead of collecting because you want a character, you're collecting because who could that character be?
Yeah. Like, I helped you with the Ric Flair conundrum, didn't I?
You sure did. You sure did. In fact, I'm going, because it's Ric Flair is going to be a cross between the Nature Boy and Ken Masters, because it was a Street Fighter Ken figure. And Hans Chow is doing the voice for Ryu. So when we finally do get to Japan, I'm actually going to introduce that Ken version of Flair, Nature Boy, and I'm going to get Gaz to come back and do another voice. He did Snake Eyes originally. I don't know if
his Snake Eyes was spot on.
Spot on Snake Eyes.
Do you know, he would have been better as Snake Eyes than that Golding fellow they got in the recent movie.
Yeah, before it was ruined. So I want to get Gaz to do, so that I can have the team up of Ryu and Ken be the team up of Hans and Gaz. I think that would just go wonderfully. But I'm, that I think I might even do a little, because at the end of the boxing episode, if that ever gets finished, I'll do maybe the tag at the end will be those two, Ken and Ryu. I think that'll be fun.
Little teaser.
I'm trying to also, because Phil, our good buddy Phil in Japan, I was like, how good is your Japanese? Like, I know you're a teacher, right? I know you're a teacher in Japan, but how good is your Japanese? Like, what if you did the voice of E Honda, right? And do all his lines in Japanese, right? Everything that E Honda says should be in Japanese, right? And then I'm going to decide, do I do the subtitles, or do I leave it with no subtitles and then have people just not understand Japanese? I don't know. I'll figure it out.
You could confuse the issue by having subtitles, but they're all in French.
Even better. All right, we're gonna play around with that. So Gaz left Joe Fest with a Battle Bear snowmobile, an Action Force custom, and a mock Lego Sarge minifigure. Oh yeah, he found. I've got one of those too. Was it you, Gaz, that found those Lego Sarge figures? I know you were there. Hans was there, and Adam was there. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost certain Gaz was the one that bought them. It was a whirlwind weekend, and I apologize if I'm misremembering. But I'm almost certain Gaz purchased everyone a Lego Sarge. I put everything I had into that Snake Eyes performance. Yeah, it's the best performance of Snake Eyes ever.
Yeah,
loved it. In fact, that is in the scene that you also pulled my butt out of the fire. Trying to figure out what the saying was.
What did I do? Yeah, it's all a blur to me.
Thanks, Gaz. Yeah, I thought it was you. That was the last day of Joe Fest, and I'm not going to get into it, but that was probably my worst day physically.
Oh no,
that was my worst day physically. So I have memory of it, and I thought it was you, Gaz. I thought it was you, but I didn't want to misremember it. But thanks for doing that. He also, and I'm so bad for this, Space Commander. I've got to still send you. I'm the worst at it. I've got to still send you that VHS of Machine Men. But I also got some figures from Gaz that I was supposed to send you last June.
There's no rush. There's no rush. I think I mentioned this before, where it doesn't matter where it is in the world or even what planet it's on. If I know it's part of my collection, I'm happy with it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
You know, like some friends of mine, they had. Why would you not release an Action Force figure in the UK, for crying out loud? That's where Action Force came from. So, as we know, I desperately wanted to get my Action Force Triple T signed.
Oh, that's so bad timing on that one.
It arrived the day we were already there. So in the end, I had to get this signed instead, which is still cool. That was sweet of him to put. I didn't ask him to write Sergeant Slammer. He just wrote that himself, you know. That arrived barely in time because that was at a friend of mine's in the States because of like I said, it wasn't released in the UK. So I couldn't get it sent to the ground station and have it sent up on the supply rocket. It had to be in the States. So I sent them some money. They bought it for me. And then at first it wasn't a problem because I was just like, well, next time they come over, you know, there's no rush. Doesn't matter if they don't come over for 5 years or whatever. Just as long as I know it's in my collection, that's fine. And they had some other bobs that I bought, and that was fine. But then when the opportunity came up to meet Sarge, then it became an issue because it's like, I've got to have something. I want to have something, something unique to something with a connection to Sarge and a connection to me by my childhood experience with Action Force.
Yes,
so it had to be an Action Force item, which I really wanted that Triple T. But anyway, another time.
It'll happen one day.
Yeah. So but the point is, wherever it is in the world, it doesn't matter. I know I've got it. I know I have that movie in my collection.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens to be on the other side of the planet.
True. Like I think I got it for a pretty good bargain too. You found the link for it, I think, was the thing.
Yeah, I've been looking for it for a while, and there are so many. There's not loads, but the few that are available, like on eBay or whatever, they're so expensive. And then you can double or triple the price with the shipping. I thought, I ain't doing that. So then when one came up that was a bargain price, I thought, well, I'll at least buy it. It'll be mine. It'll just be in Australia for a few years. No problem.
it may be for a few years more. We'll see. But yeah, Gaz also had some little Skeletron, little dudes.
Drones.
Huh?
The little drones.
Yeah, the drones. Yeah. Hey, how are you, Adam? Full force. It's after midnight here, so I find that most of the time I'm either streaming late at night and early in the morning, and never in an ideal time. And but I wouldn't have it any other way. Hanging out with my buds. That's what I was saying at the beginning of here. I was saying that I've got to, because of my my little mission that I'm going to go on. I don't think I can do Toy Biz this week. I don't think I can do Shoot the Shit this week. So we'll have to hold off for a week. But we do have tomorrow night it's not even an incoming transmission. I called it something else. I called it Welcome to the Cobra Clutch Club. And I can't believe how better your imagery is, holding up that crystal clear as day. Whereas last time it was clear as mud.
I'm sorry. It looked really good on my end. And I was thinking, what's everyone talking about? And then when I played the footage back, I was like, oh, no. We're back to
You know what it was, Spacey? It was a throwback. We were doing a throwback incoming transmission to when you didn't have anything other than your Atari 2600. It's going to be something.
That's right. You did it on purpose.
So I was talking to, we were. It was a throwback. It was a throwback episode. It was a fan service. So whatever. That's a throwback. I'm not falling for that again, Spacey. Yeah.
They've brought back the proper logo.
Oh, nice. Now, and 3 Max on it.
If the can was white instead of black, it'd be 80s style. But yeah. Proper.
Did Spacey get replaced by a clone with good internet? No. We're actually streaming this last week, and it's only just caught up.
That's right. Time warping it to you.
So I was talking to Adam after the last Toy Biz, and we were talking about Series 3 or Wave 3 or whatever you want to call it, the third year of the Marvel superheroes from Toy Biz. And I went into that thinking Pepsi unruined the logo. Absolutely. That is Exackles.
Exackles. We need to unruin the world. And this is just the beginning. It's going to happen.
It's the start. So I went away. I went into that stream thinking that I was going to give it high props, be one of the best waves. It was Fantastic Four heavy, so I thought it was going to be a fantastic wave of toys. And then I went away from that episode thinking, oh man, I'm really bummed out. Like they were not. It was not quite the wave that I thought it was going to be. And I think part of the problem was that I'd built it up because we'd had such a great gradual growth from where we started off in the beginning of Toy Biz, or sharing toys, as I learned from ads. Bit of feedback for you, Adam, if you're still watching. Somebody commented on one of my recent videos saying that it's the best intro on YouTube. So take that and pat yourself on the back, buddy, because it is my favorite thing as well. So big thanks to Adam. Adam puts a lot of effort into all of the things that he does for me, and I cannot possibly thank him enough. There's definitely I value his friendship, but I value his time as well, and he puts a lot of time into this. Anyway, so I went away from it thinking, man, like the Thing, it is a great intro. The Thing figure, I thought that the Thing figure was going to be my favorite, right? Because I love Ben Grimm, the Thing. I even wanted a Thing ring. I don't know if you're familiar with that reference, but I wanted a Thing ring to do its thing. Yeah. I wanted all of that, and I remember having the later Fantastic Four cartoon Thing, and I remember loving that too. And so I retroactively thought that, because I didn't own the original Toy Biz one anyway, but I thought this is going to be the best figure of the Fantastic Four. That was in my own mind. That's how I was doing it. I wasn't really sure who else was in the wave. I was surprised to see Deathlock in there, but I thought he was a great character. And I gave Deathlock a 10 out of 10, just because, whether or not you like the character or not, that was a very well executed action figure. And I can't remember what I gave the Thing, but it was definitely not great. And have you seen the Thing, the Toy Biz Thing?
No, it was interesting when you said that you won't be able to do the show this week. I'm thinking, in a way, that's a good thing, because that'll give me a chance to catch up. When I wasn't too well lately, you know me, Zazel. When
I know you, buddy.
When I'm having my problems, shall we say, I tend to withdraw into myself, and I don't go on the line, and I just disappear from the world for a few days until I sort myself out. But I've got a lot of catching up to do. I definitely want to watch Crash's show, Gaz, Go Figure, of course. I've got all the TJ stuff to look after, to look up as well. So I will get on it, I promise. If people are good enough to show up just to hear us two talking nonsense and trying out my internet, the best thing right. At least I can do, I should say, is to watch their shows too. So I definitely want to do that.
So I've said this. If I can't catch TJ's, if I can't catch his streams live, which is often the case, they're really good to have on while you're doing something, right? Because they could go for hours upon hours, depending on which stream you're going to play. I do love his gaming memories. I do love the ones where he has a guest on. And I think Tej, you've really come and perfected that. But it's really good to have that stuff in the background too while you're doing something. Because if I have to do housework, if I got to do dishes or something, right? And I want to have something that's going to be entertaining. I'll either put it on the big TV and have that going, or I'll put my phone in front of me and do that and just look at some good old classic games that take me down memory lane. And then you've got TJC and his sometimes I always take it back to that Batman stream that I caught, where sometimes the entertainment is trying to watch him figure out what he has to do next. Thanks, Adam. There's a bunch of songs that I think Adam could release as a single. He did the Slaughtered Disorder one. Remember that? I need to figure out what I could use that for, because I love that one too. Sometimes I just play that. And I don't know if I told you this, Adam, but my son said that he got the intro song stuck in his head. So I think that's great. All right, so what's one thing, if you could only have one thing? Oh, here we go. New episode of Gaming Memories next Saturday with Sai. Oh, nice. Spy Hunter. That's another good thing, is that there's a lot of games that I'm not familiar with, because I never had a Commodore 64. I had a buddy that had one, but I didn't really play a lot of them. So it's really good to see these games that I didn't get to previously play or even know about. But if there was one thing, and this will be our closing topic. We were going to do a 30-minute stream, and we're approaching the hour. But I just love hanging out, Spacey. I love hanging out. So if there was one thing that you could not pass up on, all right, and it can be as fantastical as you think, as unlikely as you think, what do you think you would not be able to say? And you could only have one thing. Doesn't matter how many things are there that you also want. Just one thing that if it was there, you would get it, and you would happily sacrifice anything else around you.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think it would if money was not an issue, and in this day and age, money is an issue for everyone. But if money was not an issue,
well, let's just say the price is right.
Right, I'd probably get the Palitoy Sky Striker, which is interesting because for years I didn't feel sort of compelled by it. I'd got the Triad, and that was, to me, that's a proper Space Force vehicle.
Just to remind me, what's the difference between the regular Sky Striker and the Palitoy one? Is it just stickers?
I think so. I think it's it might be some of the. Have you got time for me to go get the book?
I sure do.
I get the book. Hang on a minute. Let me, because I'm in the low gravity environment.
Yeah. Slowly.
I'll be right back.
There was a typing adventure game, and so are you talking about Fantastic Four thing or the movie thing, which we started the stream talking about? Because we were talking about Thing from Another World. So I know Space Commander got the Action Force Triple T. Have you got? Oh, look, he's got the book. It would be So Adam would get the Batman water gun. So I do know that the Action Force Triple T, the green cab is a lighter green color than the American release.
That's what's got me wondering. I know that the stickers are different, of course.
Of course, yeah.
The Palitoy one, but I wonder if the plastic is any different. So for a long time I wasn't too fussed about the Sky Striker, but then when Hasbro did that HasLab one a while back, suddenly all these videos were coming up in my suggestions of people comparing it to the classic Sky Striker, and then when we went up to the
image from $6.99 each plus $5.99, $5.55 shipping from California.
Is that shipping to Australia? No, I was going to say, because to get it up here it cost an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
But I saw loads of people doing videos about the classic Sky Striker, and I started to really like it. And then when we did our trip up to Leicester, and a bunch of us met up at the Leicester Vintage Toy Shop, they had a couple of these, and I fell in love.
Whoop! Oh yeah, My favorite Sky Striker is the one that came from Joe Fest, but this one is the second best.
Yeah, I would love to have been there and joined everyone in signing Adam's cool Sky Striker. So I don't know if the plastic colors are different, but certainly the stickers are.
Well, I drew the Space Commander logo on there on your behalf, buddy.
Oh, bless your heart.
I don't know how well it looks, but I did the best I could. I'm not very artistic, but that happened to be the one spot. My signature happened to be the one spot where a drop of water landed. Apparently.
Well, you just have to meet up and do it again.
Oh no, it's still there. It's still there. It didn't rub off or anything. It's just funny that it did that. Gaz would get the Ace Hunter Delta Mark IV. That's Mark IV, right? I before V, except after C.
4, yeah.
Yeah, 4. Yeah. Mark IV. Spacey, he has an Action Force Conquest X30.
That would be the Hasbro release, I think, when Hasbro were running Action Force.
Did you know?
Great vehicles back then.
Did you know that I have the Action Force Triple T, obviously? I say obviously. Obviously, I have the Action Force Triple T. And the Canadian one, as a matter of fact. But I also have my main Warthog is the Action Force one.
Oh, well done.
And so the stickers aren't any different. I don't say Action Force or anything, but the color is different. So
that's the thing. That's how I knew that my Sarge that I've taken and put in my Triple T now that it's here. I know from your video that is the Action Force Triple T Sarge because of the camo pattern on his trousers.
Yeah, if anyone knows, it's this guy. And now you. And you know what? You know what they say though.
Knowing. You go ahead.
Wait, no. You say it first.
Because knowing is half the battle.
Because knowing is half the battle.
Space Commander.
Exactly the same. Exactly the same.
Stupid stuff I do.
He's a professional. I go through all of my branding that I have on the side of my StreamYard here, and I've got 2, 3, 4. I've got so many videos of just Space Commander saying stuff.
Stupid stuff.
Not stupid stuff. I've still got your funeral thing in here. So now the race is on because if I go first, it's going to be useless.
I can pretty much guarantee that out of you and I and everyone in the chat, who's going to go first?
Oh, rubbish! You'll outlive us all.
Oh,
what a weird way to end. We can't end it on that, Spacey. What can we end it on for the next couple of minutes?
How about Horror Express, which is the other random out of left field thing movie?
Thank you. I was going to bring that up because I forgot the name of it, but I was like, I'll wait until we go live and then I'll ask you about it then. And then I completely forgot about it. But thankfully, you and I are on the same low brain pattern wavelength.
Ventura would say, "We think alike. We have mental telepathy."
We're mental as anything. So tell me a bit about that one.
Okay, so this film was another. Attempt isn't the right word because they did actually achieve it. They made a film based on the same short story. I think it was the original story was Who Goes There, I think, or
yeah, it is. Yeah,
Campbell, and they decided to make another film based on that story. But they only had a very limited budget again. So the way they decided to isolate the characters from the world, instead of setting it in the Arctic like all the other films, they instead set it on a train, like an express train. So you couldn't just get off it. You try and jump off, you break your legs or whatever. So they had all the characters on a train, and it wasn't made by Hammer Studios. It's not a Hammer horror, but it's got some of the Hammer actors in it. Terry Krause is also in it. And a similar thing. This guy, the scientist, has found a creature frozen in the ice. He thinks the creature is dead, but it's not. It's just dormant. They put it on the train, and it gradually wakes up and it starts to take over people. Gaz, that's right. That's the one with Telly Savalas. Yeah. Who loves you, baby? So yeah, like I say, it was done on a limited budget, and they had to change. I think they changed it
I know Campbell didn't get a credit on it, even though it's based on his story. I think that's
Right.
because of putting on a train, and they had to change so much of it. I think they set it in like, I think it was like Victorian times or Edwardian times, something like that. So it was changed enough. I think that's the reason why they didn't give him a credit. But it's always been said that it's based on his story, and
Right.
it's on YouTube. So if you guys ever have got a couple of hours to kill and you don't mind low budget sci-fi movies from the early 70s, then check that out, Horror Express.
I'm going to check it out because then I can say, unless I also want to check out the colorized version of the thing. I think that would be an interesting watch too, just because it's interesting that technology that they were using. Like it's so, it's got its own sort of charm to it.
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't say necessarily that it elevates a black and white movie, but it changes it up and gives it its own charm. So don't forget, you're set to be on episode 12, Gaming Memories, playing your chosen game. Sorry, I can't even talk. And with that, it is now 1 a.m. And we're going to get out of here. Not this time, it'll be earlier.
Sorry,
thankfully. No, look, I can say that if I'm going to stay up and hang out with a buddy, I'm glad that we did it. Oh, yes, number one Marauder, thanks. At ease, Hazel. I am at ease now that I have a signed Sergeant Slammer brought and presented to me by Space Commander. But anyway, I'm happy to do it. But we'll be doing this again tomorrow night, hanging out with TJC and Mark, talking about how we survived the Cobra Clutch. We will be doing more of these members and Patreon exclusive videos too. Just so, because I feel like we need to make sure everyone's getting their money's worth. And I know that there's a lot of guys here now that would show up anyway. I know that, and I appreciate that. But I also want to make sure that we give you guys something all for your own. So with that, we'll give it a full force, and we'll go out with a classic Space Commander exit. Full force!
Full force!
Space Commander!
Space Commander! Space Commander! Space Commander! Space Commander! Space Commander! Space Commander! Space Commander! Space Commander! Space Commander!
I'm back.